Welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today's Show channel. I hope today fantastic for everyone. Please hit the subscribes button and give this video thumbs up. Liam deserves better than Hope's last-minute reconciliation attempt. As Hope Logan makes a desperate play to reunite with dying Liam Spencer, tomorrow's B&B shows why the terminally ill father deserves better than becoming his ex-wife's guilt-driven pity project after she abandoned him for Thomas. Dying Liam deserves better than Hope's deathbed love revival. Why her sudden devotion smells like desperation. The gut-wrenching news of Liam Spencer's terminal brain tumor has suddenly made him irresistible to the same woman who couldn't wait to jump into bed with Thomas just months ago. Oh, soap fans, isn't it fascinating how quickly terminal illness transforms someone from not worth fighting for into the love of my life? That's exactly what's happening with Hope Logan right now, as she's performing the most transparent deathbed reconciliation attempt I've seen in years on The Bold and the Beautiful. After tossing Liam Spencer aside for the thrill of Thomas Forrester's undivided attention, Hope is now desperate to rekindle what she so carelessly extinguished. The convenient timing of Hope's undying love. Let's break this down, shall we? For months, Hope couldn't get enough of first Thomas and then Carter Walton. Her marriage to Liam was expendable, forgettable, practically ancient history, until she discovered he's dying. Now she's all tearful apologies and declarations of love? I've seen more genuine emotions in a department store mannequin. Thursday's episode showed Hope clinging to Liam, desperate to save his life, while conveniently forgetting she was perfectly happy with Carter just last week. The way Annika Noel played those scenes, with tears streaming down her face, almost made me believe her, almost. But those of us who've been watching since the 90s? We're not buying what she's selling. Liam's heartbreaking selflessness exposes Hope's selfishness. The most devastating part of this storyline isn't Liam's diagnosis. It's his response to Hope's sudden devotion. Even facing death, this man is still putting her needs before his own. Friday's spoilers reveal that Liam will actually try to convince Hope to repair her relationship with Carter. Let that sink in. The dying man is trying to spare his ex-wife from wasting her time on him. Meanwhile, she's using his tragedy as an opportunity to ease her guilty conscience. Talk about a study in contrasts. Scott Clifton deserves an Emmy for these scenes where Liam is literally pushing away the one woman he's loved for years, simply because he doesn't want her tied to him out of pity. That's real love, people. Not this 11th-hour devotion Hope is suddenly displaying. The romantic carousel that never stops spinning. Remember when Hope couldn't stop complaining about Liam's ping-pong heart between her and Steffi? The hypocrisy is so thick I could cut it with a knife. This woman has bounced from Liam to Thomas to Carter, and now back to Liam faster than a tennis ball at Wimbledon. And let's not forget the Rome kiss. That passionate encounter with Thomas that destroyed her marriage happened mere months ago. She couldn't keep her hands off him. Then she moved on to Carter, practically flaunting their relationship in front of everyone at Forrester. But now that Liam has an expiration date, suddenly he's the only man who ever mattered. Give me a break. What Liam really needs right now, what Liam deserves in his final days, isn't someone who's there out of guilt or pity. He needs genuine support from people who have consistently been there for him, like Steffi Forrester, who has taken him into her home despite their complicated history. Or what about Ivy Forrester? There was a woman who loved Liam without the drama, without the constant back and forth. Remember how refreshingly straightforward their relationship was? No triangles, no games, just honest affection. That's what Liam needs as he faces his mortality. Instead, he's dealing with Hope's emotional baggage on top of his terminal diagnosis. As if the poor man doesn't have enough to cope with. The impact on Liam and Hope's daughters. The most heartbreaking aspect of this whole situation is how it affects Kelly and Beth. While Liam has been spending quality time with Kelly, even giving her that special daddy-daughter dance that had me reaching for tissues, Beth has been kept in the dark. And whose fault is that? Not Liam's. He's been living with Steffi not just for medical support from Dr. Finn, but to maximize his time with Kelly. Hope could have noticed Liam's absence from Beth's life weeks ago, if she hadn't been so wrapped up in her revolving door of men. The fact that she's only now realizing something's wrong just underscores how self-absorbed she's been. Fans are divided. Social media is absolutely ablaze with reactions to this storyline. The hashtag #BoldAndBeautiful hashtag has been trending for days, with viewers taking sides in this emotional powder keg. But from what I'm seeing, the majority of fans are skeptical of Hope's sudden change of heart. One longtime viewer tweeted, "Hope jumping from Thomas to Carter to dying Liam is the most transparent character move ever. The writers aren't even trying anymore." Another fan put it even more bluntly, "If Liam takes Hope back after everything she's done, I'm throwing my remote at the TV." Even Hope's most loyal supporters seem to be questioning her motives this time. And honestly, they should be. Where do we go from here? As we head into next week's episodes, all signs point to Liam continuing to push Hope toward Carter, despite her tearful pleas. The man is determined to die with dignity, not as someone's pity project. Will Hope finally listen? Will she realize that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go? Or will she cling tighter, making Liam's final days about her needs rather than his? My prediction? This soap veteran thinks Hope won't be able to let go of her guilt, or the opportunity to play the grieving widow who never actually remarried. She'll push and push until Liam gives in, robbing him of the peaceful ending he deserves. Unless, of course, this is all building toward a miracle cure. But that's a theory for another column. One thing's certain. Liam Spencer deserves better than being Hope Logan's deathbed redemption story. He deserves honesty, consistency, and genuine love in his final days. 3 things Hope has repeatedly failed to provide throughout their relationship. There's a connection between Liam's death and Caroline Spencer. It looks like the writers of this soap are giving us a history lesson that we won't be forgetting anytime soon. There's a connection between Liam's death and Caroline Spencer. Of course, we are talking about the bold and the beautiful, as there's an interesting connection between Liam Spencer and Caroline Spencer. And that's because the music that was played during Hope Logan and Liam's last scene just happened to be the same music that was played when Caroline Spencer died in Ridge's arms. For anyone who wants to keep track, that was in episode 834 in the Bold and the Beautiful archives. Clearly, the writers are trying to send a subtle message to the BNB fanbase. Of course, this doesn't mean that Liam is going to die. But at the same time, a lot of fans can't help but wonder what this connection might mean. It's even been suggested that Liam might die from his brain tumor, but because actor Scott Clifton has made it clear that he's not going anywhere anytime soon, this could also indicate that he might also come back as Liam's long-lost twin brother. What's next for Liam Spencer? After all, this is a soap. For a moment, Bill Spencer had no idea that he might have had a daughter in Luna. There's also a chance that he might not be aware that he is also a father of twins. It looks like the writers of this soap are giving us a history lesson that we won't be forgetting anytime soon. There's a connection between Liam's death and Caroline Spencer. Of course, we are talking about the bold and the beautiful, as there's an interesting connection between Liam Spencer and Caroline Spencer. And that's because the music that was played during Hope Logan and Liam's last scene just happened to be the same music that was played when Caroline Spencer died in Ridge's arms. For anyone who wants to keep track, that was in episode 834 in the Bold and the Beautiful archives. Clearly, the writers are trying to send a subtle message to the BNB fanbase. It's one of those rare story arcs in soap history that manages to combine tragic romance, moral reckoning, and character accountability into a single narrative gut punch, and it's unfolding in full force right now on the Bold and the Beautiful as Liam Spencer faces his final days battling a terminal brain tumor. What should have been a heartbreaking but dignified farewell for a man who spent most of his adult life torn between 2 women has quickly become a masterclass in emotional manipulation as Hope Logan, his ex-wife and the very woman who discarded him for Thomas Forrester not long ago, suddenly decides she can't live without him. But let's be honest. This deathbed reunion stinks of desperation, not devotion, and viewers who've been around since the days of Caroline Spencer are starting to see the show's layered messaging. The reuse of the same haunting music from episode 834, the one in which Caroline died in Ridge's arms, during Liam and Hope's recent scene isn't just coincidence. It's a deliberate move by the writers to draw a subtle yet powerful parallel between Liam's potential exit and one of the most emotionally devastating moments in the show's history. And while some fans cling to hope, no pun intended, that this might hint at a twin twist resurrection or a miracle cure, the majority are watching in disbelief as Hope Logan attempts to rewrite history and paint herself as the loyal soulmate to a man she once discarded, like yesterday's press release. Because let's not forget, just a few months ago, Hope couldn't wait to jump into bed with Thomas Forrester, the same man who had emotionally manipulated her for years, who had weaponized her grief over Beth, and who was arguably responsible for some of the darkest chapters in her and Liam's love story. Hope made a choice, and she made it loudly, proudly, and without remorse. She followed her feelings to Rome, where that infamous kiss with Thomas in front of the Colosseum effectively torpedoed her marriage. When Liam walked away, devastated, betrayed, but still quietly dignified, Hope barely looked back. Instead, she ran headfirst into Thomas's arms and, when that imploded, sought comfort in the ever-available Carter Walton. Liam, meanwhile, suffered in silence, holding on to what little dignity he had left and eventually retreating into Steffi's home, where he could be surrounded by people who still respected and supported him. That's what makes Hope's sudden about-face so galling. Now that Liam's dying, now that he's no longer an option for a long-term stable romance, he's suddenly back on her radar as the love of her life? The timing couldn't be more suspect, and frankly, it reeks of self-serving guilt and performative redemption. This isn't about Liam. This is about Hope trying to erase her mistakes and reframe her abandonment as a necessary break, rather than the betrayal it so clearly was. And let's talk about Liam's response to all of this. If anyone needed confirmation that he is truly the heart of this show, they need look no further than the selfless way he's handling this mess. Rather than soak up Hope's affection or manipulate her for emotional comfort, Liam is pushing her away. He's actively encouraging her to go back to Carter, telling her to pursue happiness while she still has time. It's the ultimate heartbreak, watching a man who is literally dying, who has been betrayed and humiliated, still prioritize the well-being of the woman who abandoned him. Scott Clifton has never been better. His performance is raw, restrained, and deeply moving, anchored in emotional truth. He doesn't play Liam as a victim. He plays him as a man who has nothing left to lose, which makes his nobility all the more poignant. And that nobility stands in stark contrast to Hope's sudden flurry of tears and promises. The way she's suddenly showing up at the hospital with hand-folded letters, childhood mementos, and declarations of forever love, would be laughable if it weren't so manipulative. It's not that her feelings aren't real, it's that they're only surfacing now, under the weight of mortality and regret, and that's not love. That's self-preservation. Hope's behavior becomes even harder to defend when viewed through the lens of hypocrisy. For years, she lambasted Liam for bouncing between her and Steffi. She accused him of emotional ping-pong, of being unable to commit, of treating love like a revolving door. And yet, here she is, practically setting a new land speed record in emotional flip-flopping. From Liam to Thomas to Carter and back to Liam, all within a calendar year. That's not devotion. That's chaos. And it's leaving emotional wreckage in its wake, especially for the two young girls caught in the crossfire, Beth and Kelly. Liam, even while dying, has made it a point to maximize his time with Kelly, even arranging a daddy-daughter dance that will probably go down as one of the most emotionally resonant moments in recent soap history. Meanwhile, Beth, his daughter with Hope, has barely registered on her mother's radar lately. Hope has been so consumed with her own romantic entanglements that she hasn't even noticed Liam's absence from Beth's life. Now suddenly she's clutching him like her lifeline? If you listen closely, you can practically hear the emotional whiplash. The fans have certainly noticed. Social media is ablaze with divided reactions. Hashtags like #LiamDeservesBetter and #HopeTooLate are trending. And even longtime Hope supporters are expressing frustration with how shallow and opportunistic her behavior feels. One user pointed out, "It's not romantic, it's damage control." Another wrote, "Hope treating Liam like a human band-aid is peak soap hypocrisy." And it's hard to argue with them. Because in this storyline, Hope isn't the hero. She's not even the romantic lead. She's the antagonist in a tragedy of her own making. And as Liam stands on the edge of mortality, all he's asking for is a little honesty, a little consistency. He deserves to face whatever time he has left with people who genuinely love him, who have always loved him, not fair-weather partners looking to redeem themselves. People like Steffi. Say what you will about the complications of her relationship with Liam, she's always had his back when it counted. She opened her home to him without hesitation. She enlisted Finn's medical expertise, provided emotional support, and perhaps most importantly, gave him a space to be a father to Kelly. Their dynamic has evolved beyond romantic entanglement into something deeper. Mutual respect, shared history.